Immigrant communities are bracing for the unknown. Among those executive orders we just told you about, one to allow deportation raids across the nation.
First Alert 6 Johan Marin spoke to a local organization and has more.
Luis Jimenez is the organizer for Forsa Latina. The group advocates for Latino people and issues in Omaha. He says his neighbors come to him every day with questions about the Trump administration's plans for illegal immigration.
I've been telling them that we need to make sure the information is in front of people because unfortunately we've had 2 months of not knowing what those executive orders are going to look like.
On Monday, President Trump vowed to sign more than 50 executive orders, including one to greenlight mass deportations across the nation. The raids could impact an estimated 40,000 undocumented immigrants in Nebraska, according to a recent Migration Policy Institute report.
It's an opportunity to be more connected with your employer, your community leaders, locally, be connected with more people.
Jimenez is mentally preparing people in the case they encounter a Customs and Border Protection officer. He's teaching a 3-step rule. Do not panic, listen to directions, and know your rights.
We are a nation where we got to go before a judge. There's due process before anything happens, whether it's liberty or incarceration.
Jimenez also reminds everyone under law does have the right to remain silent. You're allowed not to speak to a Border Patrol agent unless you have an attorney beside you. Reporting in Omaha, I'm Johan Marin, First Alert 6.
All right, now in response to that, Omaha Mayor Jean Stothert released a statement regarding Trump's immigration plan this afternoon. She says, quote, "Please be assured that Omaha police officers do not and will not seek out individuals to check their legal status. This is not the mission or duty of the Omaha Police Department."